Hello everyone and welcome to the channel Funk with JavaScript. So in this session we are going to set up our dev environment, and the environment I'm going on is with React. Because I started with React, so it's a bit easier for me to run JavaScript code in it. Also, I believe if we go through the React route, we will encounter lots of terminologies which I can explain, which are heavily used in the open source framework like Node, like React, of course, we just discussed, Webpack, NPM, and so on and so forth. And the first thing we are going to do is install Node. What is Node? It's a runtime which converts your JavaScript code into machine or binary code which which a computer can execute. So we need a Node. So to install Node, what we are going to do is to open our browser and go to the website. So let me switch my page. Yes, that's where it is. Let's go look for node.js. You can go with 14.6.0 should you want, but I have already developed all my code in 14.15.1, so I will be going with that for this demo. But go ahead, try with 14.16.0. I think it should work. So I'm going to go into downloads, previous releases, 14.15.1. Where are you? Nope, can't find it. Yeah, there it is. Let's go to downloads. I need the 64-bit version, which is this one. Click on it. It should download it. And once it is done, I can click on open when done and it will start installing. Nothing major in it, so I would pause the video over here, give you some time to install it, and then I see you back. So I hope the installation of VS Code went okay. Now is the time to actually create the React app itself, which we can open in VS Code later on. So the way to do that is to open your command prompt as I have. Let's go to the location where I would like to have it. And it should be, I think, YouTube. Yeah, that's the folder. Over here, I would like to create a new one. And the way to do that is npx create React app. And the name of the app, in my case, I would like to go with first React app. Go ahead and press enter. After a while, it will download all the dependencies, scaffold your project, and I will again pause the video over here, give you 2 minutes, run the project, and once your project is over, once the project is created, we will be opening it in the VS Code. So I hope everything went okay with your installation. I have, if I look into my file, I go to file, open the folder. Yes, let's go to deep, and that's my application which was created. Let's click on open the folder. Now, in a quick note over here, when you open your Visual Studio Code, it might be that your Explorer is on the left side. It's a choice, it's a preference thing. I always like everything on the right, but if you want, you can keep it on the left or move it like me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So let's see my code. So that's my first React app. As you can see, these are all the files that have been created. This is just one-to-one mapping with whatever I have on my hard drive. So if I click on it, I can go to reveal in File Explorer. That's the same structure. I can add new files over here and they will start appearing in my VS Code Explorer. It's nothing rocket science about it. Now, once this is done, let's see what do we have. Let's close this one. I don't need this. Yeah. The first thing I will do is to do npm I. Now, what does it mean? It means my project has some dependencies. Install those dependencies. So go over to internet to something called an npm registry and download all the dependencies I have to run a React application. Once you press install, it will go into the wild, wild web and then start downloading my installation on my dependencies. So I'll pause the video over here again for a moment and I see you once my dependencies are installed. So I hope all your dependencies are installed and now is the time to run our project. And the way to do that is to say npm start. The moment you do this, it will open your browser on the port 3000. And if you have something else configured on 3000, then 3001 and so on and so forth. Accept it and you should be able to see something like this. Let me open and put it over here. It's opening, it's opening. It's a bit slow because my machine is a bit slow. So there it is. Now we have in front of us, ladies and gentlemen, the first React web application which we created. How easy it is. You install Node, you install VS Code, and then just change and just say npm start and your application is up and running. Now is the time to have a look at behind the scene how the whole scaffolding is done. What is exactly happening in these JavaScript projects? Because remember, I have used React scaffolding. We have certain files, package.json, package.log.json, so on and so forth. These are not specific to React. These are specific to Node, the underlying runtime, which is responsible for compiling in a way our JavaScript code, giving us the ability to scaffold React projects, giving us the ability to down dependencies and so on and so forth. That all is Node magic. So let's switch my view. That was a VS Code. Let's start looking at all the files I have. Now, starting from the bottom, I have readme.md. Nothing major about it. It's talking about all the commands that are available in this project and all the explanation, rest of the explanation about the whole structure. You can go read on it, read it in your free time. Package.json, perhaps one of the most important files in JavaScript development projects. In nutshell, it contains some metadata about the project. So, for example, the name, the version number, and so and etc. etc. It also contains the dependencies. Now, dependencies are third-party libraries which we download to make our project work. So we can be using the functionality, some functions, some methods into these libraries to do something for us. These are like references in .NET C# applications. So for example, over here, I'm using a library called testing library and with Jest, it's a testing library, as I mentioned. And the meaning of caret over here is that whenever you download, whenever you go out looking for this library, pick up any version which is greater than this. So that's what caret means over here. There are other symbols also, which we will cover later on. Then we have scripts. What we are saying to Node over here is, hey Node, whenever I type start, go ahead and run this script, React script start. We don't have to worry about it. This is actually coming from the React code base itself. So it's not something which you or me will write. So what will happen is we already saw an example of it. Remember, we had to do npm start over here. Let me close it again. Control. So if I want to run it again, we have done npm start, and that start is actually nothing but this guy. So behind the scenes, this script is running. Similarly, you can do npm build. What it would do is to create a minified prepackaged build for you, and which you can use. Oh, sorry, it's I think npm, was it run build? Yeah, it was npm run build. I always get confused. So it will create this minified JavaScript file for you, which you can then ship off to production. So it will have all the debugging symbols and all those things removed. And of course, it would be minified. You cannot read it as such. Then we have browser list. So what we are telling Node is that whenever you create a production level build, make sure that it works for all the browsers which have a usage of 0.2%, greater than 0.2%. Now, you will say, okay, what does that mean? How many browsers are there for that? The way to test that, to know what all browsers we have, is to run a particular command. And the command is browser list. Let me quickly copy it over. So it is something like this. So npx browser list and then the condition. So in my case, I could have chosen to say, okay, npx browser list, give me all the browsers with usage greater than 0.2%. And you will see it created a file for me over here mentioning all the browsers and the version numbers over there. IE11 is there. I thought it won't be there. Who uses IE11? Anyways, we don't need these files, so I will delete them. And so this is for production ready builds. You can of course change them. Remember, it's an array, so you can add more entries should you want. Similarly for development, I don't care about the older versions. All I need is the latest one of these three browsers. Of course, I can also add IE over there in case I need. So that is package.json. But then there is package lock.json. What is the curry behind it? The thing is, imagine a scenario where you and me both are working on a project. I have been working on this project 6 months or 7 months, a year ago, I don't know. When I ran the project, so when I created my dependencies, Node went ahead and read all these ones, these version numbers. Now, it's not an exact version number. So I'm not saying use React 17.01. What I'm saying is go ahead and pick up any React version which is greater than 17.01. So it's but obvious that when I ran it 1 year ago, React was 17.0.3, but when you run the same thing, it would be 17 or 18.xxxxx, right? Now, there are potential discrepancies in it. Your code can break because, hey, the underlying React version has changed. So to overcome that functionality, that problem, what Node does, it creates a package lock.json file, which contains the actual versions which have been downloaded for the dependencies. So this way, whenever you run npm I, remember that command would go to package lock.json, pick up all the sorry about that, pick up all the versions and all the dependencies and download exact versions over there. So you and me both will have, excuse me, will have the same version and the same libraries to develop. I need a bit of tea. Okay. So that's package lock.json and package. That's the difference between the two. If you do not have a package lock.json, then npm I will go to package.json and pick up the latest versions as per whatever is written over there. The source folder is where actual source code, your actual source code, lives. We will cover that in a minute. Public. The idea behind React applications, writing React applications, or a matter of any front-end development application, is that you have a basic HTML page and you kind of inject your module, your code into it. To give you an example, let's look at the page we had just created. So if I could go here and let's look at the source code. What is happening here? Elements. I have my HTML, I have my header tag, then the body tag. You see, link, viewport, theme, color. Where is this coming from? And then we also have a body. There is something called a root. and something called an app. Pretty interesting. Where is all this thing coming from? The answer to that is to have a look at the public folder's index.html. It was a wow moment when I figured it out. Pretty basic stuff, but I'm new to this, huh? You see, we have the meta, link, meta, exactly the same things. We have a title over here also, which was the same, which we saw earlier in your HTML. So it's this HTML that is getting rendered whenever we run the application. What happens behind the scene is that there is something called div ID root. So what we are telling, remember this root, huh? Keep that in mind. If you go to the source folder and you go to the index.js file, you would see something called document get element by ID root. What we are telling the framework over here is, hey, whenever you want to load, look for this particular element with that particular ID into your index.html or into your HTML structure and put up all the things, all my applications, which is app inside it. For the time being, don't worry about strict mode. We will discuss it later on. It's not needed. So you can just do this or keep it like strict mode like this. It doesn't matter. So what I'm saying is pick up something called an app and put it under root and render it under root. And if you look at carefully, there is something called app.js. Let's click on it. And we will come to this beautiful, beautiful code. Very sleek code. That's what I like about React. The, the lightness of the lightness of writing JavaScript is what I love the most. So not much code over here. We have header, image, and so on and so forth. This is pretty similar to what we have over here in our main application. Let me go there. You see, we have an image, we have some text, edit src.js and save to load and learn React. This all is coming from our file app.js. Now, what we can do is quickly, let's go ahead. I don't really need, what I would like to do is change this text to say, hello world. And I learn React. Yeah, we are learning JavaScript. And now my most favorite feature of the whole front end, the JavaScript stack, live reloading. What it means, or hot reloading, what it means is that you don't have to stop your server, start it again to see your pages changes in action. Because remember, I come from a .NET framework, heavily server-side environment where you have to restart your IIS, restart your cache, everything for the changes, for that tweeny change to see. Not anymore in this one. So let me show it to you. Every time I come across this feature, I fall in love with it again. Let's see. Look at this one. Okay, I would do npm. I think I had to do a start, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if it is running again. You see, it's compiling, and here it goes. Hello world. See, I don't really have to start something or do anything. It's just magic, and I love it. So let's put it back. Let's increase this code. So let's see what else is over there. Now we are talking about the source file. We have our app.js, which is basically the module slash function slash place where we will be writing all our JavaScript and then see it on the browser. We have app.cs. It's the CSS file. It's the way we include the CSS for HTML within React applications. App.test, we can, if you want, go ahead, delete this one because it's really for testing your components, your functionality which you have written. We are not going to use it in this module. Index.cs is again the same thing. So this is the basic CSS for the complete HTML body we are going to write. Uh, Index.js we already saw. What will happen is that there is something called a Webpack, which is a bundler. So what it means, it's sort of a layer sitting on top of Node, whose job is to actually pick up all this index and app.js, compile them into one or two JavaScript file, combine them, minify them according as per what we have suggest, what the React scaffolding suggests, and then give us the final production output. Now that all that magic is being done by Webpack. Behind the scene, it's Node flat. Don't forget about that. So then we have logo.svg, it's for the images. Now we also have something called report web vital.js. This is the file. This is actually the code to capture Google related metrics, Google metrics from your website. If you So we can have a look at it, what it does. The detailed explanation, of course, is for future sessions. But if you look carefully at index.js, we are calling this function, but I don't exactly know what it does. Right. So what I'm going to do is to put in some logic so that I could see what the code, what does it do actually? My curiosity, huh? Curiosity killed the cat. Now what I could do over here is to say console.log. Console.log is to log into your developer tools console. This is the preferred way to debug JavaScript, which was a bit of a shock for me initially because I like to attach my breakpoints and then do live debugging. And I thought, gosh, console.log will never do it, but I'm pleasantly surprised because it's quite helpful. And if you look carefully at the structure via console.log, or the errors which prop up, you really don't need to debug it the way we used to debug C# applications. It is possible, by the way, if you would like. It's via run, start debugging, and then you need to attach a Chrome. You need to attach your debug browser directly with the VScode, and then you can step in through. Maybe I'll cover it out in some latest chapter. Fair enough. Before I do that, let's do a console.clear also, so that we have a clean version in our. So let's go ahead, save it, and I will switch it. You see, that's the matrix. So all these things are being logged by the matrix object. As I said, these are metrics defined by Google. So you can go ahead and have a look at each of these. I don't remember by heart what they mean. So let's go back to our code. What else do we have which we can use? So public we define. Node modules, the good one. Now these are the references, the third-party JavaScript files which we need to run a React application or any other application. So node modules. It's a node feature again. All the dependencies go over there. So if you open it, you would see these all are the dependencies I have for the project. If I look into my package.json file, remember we defined some dependencies over there. So I defined the jest, I defined the React, which is the base, this one, React, which is the base library, which makes all this magic of picking up your code from app.js and putting it up under root, React and React on both. All this magic is done by these libraries. React script is what makes npm start, npm run, build commands run. Remember, because we have these defined over here. So it's this package. So it's but natural that we need to have it. So if I go into node modules, I should see somewhere React. Oh boy, so many dependencies. You see, the other thing which I'm really pleasantly surprised about this whole stack is that though there are so many dependencies, which is I think more than C# ever had, a project C# project had in its references, but I never encountered any problems with it. Most of the time they just work. Yeah, that's my dependency. So that's React and all the files that go along with it. They also have a package.json. It will be interesting to just click on it and see what all it does. But those are your references over there. A very good thing about this way of organizing your code is that you don't have to necessarily check in or copy the node modules if you are sharing this project with your colleagues, or you're putting it in some kind of a version control system, because you can always run npm I, which will basically go to package.json file and pick up the exact versions from the npm registry. Fair enough. So that is for node modules and build. We had run npm run build. That was a production build. Let's have a look at what it does. So it's that npm build which has created this folder for us. So it creates a folder inside it called static, where all the files are, and then this is my index.html. This index.html is nothing but the one we defined in public. So I can change this index.html. For example, I could say React app is cool, save it, run an npm run build, and I would have the same thing over here in my build folder. I don't need to copy or put index.html in production. Honestly, what you could do is just copy your JS files, which are these two. These files, you don't need the map file. We will cover what it is later on. 2, 3 main runtime. So these are the 4 files. You put it on an index or any HTML page. Make sure that it has a node called root, because that's what we had defined in our index.js, and your application will start running. Of course, it does not have to be root. I could have named first React app and then copy the same thing at index.js, and still it will work. This will still work. So that's pretty much the whole structure. I hope it was beneficial for you. You were able to follow it. If not, then please put it in the comments and I will do a better job in my next video. Bye bye.